Okay, so for anyone who is new to this case, I'll just do a quick rundown. Phoebe Bishop went missing from Gin or Bundaberg, which is in Queensland, Australia, in the north of Australia, on May 15th. Her housemate, James Wood, supposedly dropped her off at the airport or in the vicinity of the airport, and claims that the last he saw of her, she was walking along Airport Drive pulling her luggage. Phoebe hasn't been seen since, and there is in fact no CCTV footage showing Phoebe in the vicinity of the airport. The closest they have is Samuel Road, which is a short distance from Bundaberg Airport. Phoebe was due to fly across to Western Australia to spend time with her former high school boyfriend and never checked in at the airport. While Bundaberg police are saying that they are not naming any suspects and they've not made any arrests, obviously number one on the list are her two housemates, Tena Bramley and James Wood. And it is apparently Wood who drove Phoebe to the airport, supposedly. Police have done a search in the area of Goodnight Scrub National Park, where they did find items of interest, but the search was called off earlier this week. They have claimed that there were items removed from the area. There is now a playlist on my channel of this case. I will add the link for that below. Although you can also find it by going to my homepage and going and looking for playlists, and you'll find it there. So Phoebe's mother has spoken out publicly in the last couple of days, making a plea for help with finding Phoebe and to bring her home. And in addition to that, there is more information that has come out with regards to Tena Bramley, who was one of Phoebe's housemates. There's also some rather disturbing claims with regards to Woods that I've uncovered, so I'll discuss them as well in this video. But first of all, let's start with Phoebe's mother.
I still hold hope that Phoebe will come home, but I have to consider the possibility that she also won't. In the worst case scenario, if the worst case scenario has happened, I at least need to know where she's resting. I need to know where Phoebe is.
Okay, I'm going to be honest. I don't know if she was holding it together for the cameras or if she's just someone who tends not to show emotion, but it didn't really hit anything with me. I think, given the situation, I would have expected to see a little bit of emotion, but then this is a businesswoman, this is a mother who has 5 children, possibly hasn't had the most brilliant life, so maybe this is just her baseline. In terms of speeches for, making pleas to the public, I think she should have probably considered a longer speech and, something that was going to appeal to people's emotions. Maybe that's all she could manage. I know it would be really, really hard for any mother to have to step up and speak publicly like that when your child is missing. So I do want to be a little bit cautious in what I say with regards to the mother. Definitely, she needs her daughter brought home. She needs people to speak out and for Phoebe to be brought home. Now, Speaking of people who should be speaking out, let's talk about Tena Bramley. Or perhaps more specifically, let's talk about Tena's association with Phoebe's mother. Phoebe's mother runs a NDIS support service. For those of you who aren't in Australia, NDIS is the government funding for people who are living with disabilities, and there are a number of support services throughout Australia. These are essentially private businesses that I think they put in for like a tender and get government funding to run these support services. So Phoebe's mum runs a support service called Smiley's Support Coordination. Looks like it's been around for a few years, and she has a handful of staff that work for her. Up until last year, Tena Bramley was one of her staff, and then apparently Tena was made redundant at some point in time last year and no longer works for Kylie Johnson. I haven't been able to find out what role Tena had in Kylie Johnson's company, but she was apparently a staff member there, and they were close friends. Apparently they had a falling out after Tena was made redundant. It appears that Phoebe and Tena also became close friends, so it seems to me that that is how Phoebe ended up living with Tena. I guess with Kylie's business being a family-owned business, then you are going to get that situation where her children do get to know her staff and become close with her staff. So it seems that at some point in time after Tena was made redundant, whatever went on with Phoebe and her mum led to Phoebe moving in with Tena and Tena's deadbeat boyfriend. So I haven't been able to find out any information with regards to precisely when Tena was made redundant from Kylie's company. So I don't know if there's any connections between her hooking up with Wood and her no longer working for Kylie, because it sounds like Wood is bad news. As I mentioned in a previous video, Tena's family had expressed the fact that he was bad news for her, and basically I think they were trying to say that, you know, he was ruining her life. So I do want to move on and talk about Tena's relationship with Wood, and also a few things in relation to her charges. I'll start with the charges because then that actually leads into her relationship with Wood. So, as I've mentioned a few times now, she's up on various charges for possession of firearms and possession of ammunition, as well as charges for possession of a flick knife. She's currently out on bail, and she has to attend the Gingin police station 3 times a week as part of her bail conditions. So the photo on the right hand side is typical Australian media basically following her when she went to check in for her bail condition thing, and that is a photo of her now. So she's clearly dyed her hair blonde and is getting around with a hoodie trying to hide her identity. Now, one thing that has come out which I hadn't seen in any other articles, it seems like as much as I criticise the Daily Mail, they do seem to be good at doing their research. And they have more information with regards to Bromley's charges. So I had been quite critical of the fact that Bromley had been given bail when she was up on the same charges, like second time round, repeat offence. But according to the Daily Mail, the magistrate, John McInnes, actually had said that she wasn't the prime mover in procuring the firearms, and that apparently Ms. Bromley is a victim of DV, domestic V. I have to be careful what I say because YouTube loves to demonetize if you say the wrong thing. Turns out that Wood has a bit of a history of violence, and that some of that has been directed towards Bromley. In terms of reports of the argument that occurred the morning that Phoebe went missing, I saw one account which suggested that that argument may have occurred at the house, and that police had been called in, but that the argument had been over at the time that they attended. I don't know how truthful that is. Obviously, unless we have that directly from the Bundaberg police, then we don't know if that is 100% truthful. But it does appear that James Wood has a bit of a violent tendency, which is extremely disturbing. The other thing that has been confirmed is that for Tena Bramley, one of her bail conditions is that she not see Wood, which is why there were reports of her sleeping in his bus outside of the home. I think it would have been better for the magistrate to actually make that condition that she not live on the same property, even if that bus is outside the property. Technically they should have had her agree to move in with family, as opposed to just saying you can't see Wood. Now, while I'm certainly not going to back down, I do believe Bromley has made some really poor life choices with associating with that deadbeat. I find it disappointing that a mother would choose to move in with a boyfriend rather than be with her children. So definitely poor life choices. But if he is a violent individual, then I can understand why she's not, or as far as we know, not talking, not giving up information on what Wood has done, because it's certainly now pointing towards him as the main offender. Of course, it is possible that Ms. Bromley may know very little details with regards to what has happened to Phoebe. If he was driving Phoebe to the airport and Ms. Bromley wasn't in the vehicle and something happened when he should have been dropping Phoebe off at the airport, then it's possible that Ms. Bromley only knows whatever details he's given to her. Likewise, if he did not return to the property after whatever happened to Phoebe and before he went to the national park area, it is also possible that Ms. Bromley doesn't actually know where Phoebe is. So for all we know, she could be cooperating with police. She could also be avoiding cooperating with police because of fear of retribution. So, given these additional bits of information that we know, I find it surprising that Wood has been granted bail for his firearms offences, because it does seem to me that while there's a possibility of him having access to Tanika, that she's not going to say anything that she knows. She's probably afraid of this guy. Hopefully there is a good reason why he is not currently cooling his heels in jail. So that's about all I've got for you today when it comes to Phoebe's case. Just snippets of information, I guess. Nothing significant, but it's still an update. Let's hope that perhaps sometime in the near future I will be able to provide you with a more solid update. An arrest perhaps, or that they have found Phoebe. So on that note, thanks for listening. If you are new to my channel, please subscribe. Also, please hit that like button, YouTube loves that. And also please leave a comment below. Thank you, and I'll catch you in the next one.